You want to come a little bit?
This way.
Mm-mm. Oh, no.
Can you still see me over here?
Hmm?
Can you still see me on that one?
Oh, this one, we can see you even if you run away.
Okay.
You need your microphone.
Yeah, hold on.
Nasawunusa. Can you see people?
Yeah, so people started already.
Yo, welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today is Wednesday, another day for us to be grateful. We are grateful to God, to the universe, to the ancestors, and to anyone who had a hand in bringing us onto this earth and is keeping us here. People, I am very happy, I'm excited. I'm even shaking because I have somebody whom I am in total awe of. I met her not long ago at a where did we meet?
We met at the wedding.
At a wedding, a traditional wedding, and we immediately hit it off. I didn't even see you while the whole thing was happening, but then I saw you. And then we started talking. And today, she's on my show, Kiki's Chat Show. Kiki's Chat Show is one lucky show. Now, my guest name is Carole Pyke. Her story is going to shock you, and it's going to make you believe in whatever it is that she believes in. We need to hold on to whatever it is that's keeping her going. Now, Carole is a proficient storyteller. She uses the power of words to capture her audience attention. I want you guys to be captured as well because she captured me in the first 3 sentences when we met. Also, I want you to listen carefully to Carole because Carole is one human being who is very grateful to be on this earth. Now, for all of you who continue to complain, to bicker, to moan about life, you ain't seen nothing yet. Welcome to my show, Carole.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Now, Carole, where should we start?
That's a very good question. Well, I could start by saying I am a 2-time stroke survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And my latest stroke, or rather my first stroke, was in 2014.
Yeah.
And as I was celebrating 5 years since that stroke, I decided to have another one.
Oh, you decided.
Well, something happened and I had another one. So I need some help with celebration techniques. 'Cause
Okay.
clearly that wasn't the way to do it. And so I had a stroke on the 27th of February.
Yeah.
And I came out of hospital on the 15th of April.
Okay.
And quite literally, the world is not how it is for everybody else.
How do you mean?
I see the world differently. So I quite literally live in the here and now. I feel as though my brain has archived memories of the past, and only if it's relevant to the here and now or moving forward will it access it. So if it's going to keep me stuck or keep me thinking about going back, actually it's not interested. So I have no frame of reference for fear, worry, anxiety or regrets.
Fear, worry, anxiety. You do not have
a frame of reference. I have no idea what those things are.
I see. You mean you have no fear?
I have no fear. I think what it is I'm understanding more is that I have got the ability to separate facts from emotions. So I don't live in my emotions and I don't live in the past. And so things are neither good or bad, they just are. Okay. And all they say to me is that's my starting point.
So you have no fear?
Nope.
You have no worries?
Nope. But
you have a lot of joy?
Oh yeah, no, I actually quite literally wake up with a smile on my face. And every adventure, and every day is an adventure, because the world is an unfamiliar place. It's a bit like how I see a newborn baby. It's born into an unfamiliar world. It needs to learn how the world works and then how to operate in it. That's me. I'm that newborn baby.
Wow.
But I see it as an adventure. It's exciting because I actually quite literally don't know what's going to happen next.
So you get up in the morning. I need a scenario here. And I want people to, listeners, let's play with this. You get up in the morning and you don't know what you're going to do during the day. Or you don't know how you're going to tackle the day. Or what, how do you do it then?
All right, well, kind of essentially, like say, for instance, today I had a hospital appointment this morning.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed to get up in time to be able to do that hospital appointment.
Yeah.
And the kind of interesting thing about today was it started raining. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had no frame of reference of how to deal with rain when you're on two crutches. So, first of all, I couldn't find a parking space.
Yeah.
And I hadn't worked out what to do if I couldn't find one.
Okay.
So I had to wait for one. And then, of course, it was pouring with rain. So I got wet. And the fact that crutches in the wet are a bit precarious because they kind of slip and slide. But I had to navigate my way through that because I had an appointment to go to.
So let's start from the beginning so that people understand. How did the stroke affect you? You had the first one.
Right, so the first stroke was a right frontal lobe infarct, which always sounds like a swear word. But,
infarct.
Yes, which affected my emotions, processing and focusing. And one of the things that happened there was that if I was in a room of people and people said, let's introduce ourselves, I wouldn't be able to do that. That whole process actually made me cry. I used to laugh about it in terms of I'm unable to say my name in public. There was something about that my brain didn't process effectively, and I would actually quite literally burst into tears. So things like workshops, kind of events where it is, you do that whole intro element, I actually couldn't do that. It didn't stop me from going to those places, but actually I couldn't do it.
So when this was the first stroke?
This was the first stroke.
So then did you manage to get your memory back, or did you manage to be able to say who you were and all of that?
No, that didn't change. So in the 5 years, actually that didn't change. Okay. There were times where I would either find coping strategies for it, or essentially coping strategies to be able to deal with it. So either not participate in that side of things at all, arrive late, or just kind of like things that just kind of prevented me from having to put myself on the spot. And
so were you going to work though? Sorry to interrupt.
I was working for myself.
Okay.
I was a marketing consultant, and so I was working for myself. So I could deliver a workshop, stand at the front of the room and tell you who I am, but if I was sitting in the room with the other participants, I wasn't able to do it.
Wow. So you can take control and
Yes.
then do whatever it is you have
Yeah.
to do, but you cannot be left to have random thoughts and
So it was kind
random discussions.
Well, no,
and
it wasn't even so much random discussions. The bit that I was unable to do was actually to introduce myself. And a classic example was at church we were looking at the whole area of coaching, and some external facilitators came in, and I was asked to look after them, and I did. And then there were 15 of us in the room, and they said, "Oh, why don't we just go round, say your name, and say what you had for breakfast?" And I'd forgotten that this was an issue until they pointed at me first. And I had to apologise to everybody in the room and say, "I can't do this," and leave the room and cry.
Oh.
And then when I came back in, I then participated in the rest of the session. And at the first break, the facilitator said, "Please explain, because when you were unable to say your name, we thought you would be unable to participate."
Oh.
So it's that whole thing that which is understandable. If you ask somebody their name and they burst into tears, that your perception then is their inability to do things.
Yeah.
But my challenge was that I can't say my name.
Yeah, you can't do the intro.
No. So, and it didn't matter how you framed it. Actually, I just couldn't do that. So that was one of the issues that happened. And I used to joke also that emotionally, if you needed somebody to cry, you could just call me, because actually I could cry
At the drop of a hat.
I used to say that was my party piece.
Yeah.
You know, that I could cry. Or I'd have conversation with somebody and say, "I just want to apologise. I'm going to cry now, but I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just how it is that I'm doing things right now." And so elements like that and things like crowds were really challenging for me after the first stroke. But hey, I'm always kind of that whole get up and go girl. So just finding ways to be able to deal with that and be able to cope with it. And the great thing is about the second stroke is I don't have those problems.
So, yeah, okay. So the first stroke did that, but could you move about? Were you mobile?
Yeah, so I was still, I was doing lots of different things. I was travelling. Yeah, I was doing lots of different things.
And then you had the second stroke.
Yes.
Is it normal for people to have two strokes?
It's not necessarily a kind of a normal thing, but people have been known to have several strokes. And it's kind of almost like you've had one, so therefore you are more susceptible to having a second one. And I'm just really blessed that the second one didn't kill me, because it could easily have done.
I see. So when you had the second one, what happened there? How did you now be able to be here chatting, telling me your name? We met, you told me your name was Carole.
Yes. So one of the great things about this stroke is some of the issues from the first stroke are no longer issues.
Wow.
But also this stroke is dramatically different. I had no pain with the first stroke, and I have had lots of pain with this one. But in this one, I quite literally live in the here and now. So whatever happens in this moment, I'm fully engaged in what's happening in this moment. But in the next moment, whatever happened here, I don't take that emotion necessarily into the next time.
Yeah.
You know, so for instance, last week Wednesday, I had a bad day that day.
In Tesco. Was it Tesco?
No, that would have been Sainsbury's.
Sainsbury's,
that was a couple of weeks before that.
All right.
But I had a bad day. I was in my car and I was in tears, and I was asking myself the question, like, what's the point? If I didn't wake up in the morning, who would care?
Oh, I saw that.
And what difference would it make? But that was Wednesday night. When I wake up on Thursday, I had a smile on my face because it was contained within the Wednesday. Because the here and now on the Thursday morning it's a brand new day, fresh with no mistakes. So actually, all is well.
Wow.
And so that's how it is that I operate. And essentially, I am having the most amazing spiritual journey ever. Because quite literally, I walk by faith and I'm walking with Jesus. So me and JC, we go out to the park, we have conversations, just
the two of you.
Just the two of us.
So while he's with you, what about the rest of us?
No, but you know, but the great thing about him is that he can be in lots of places all at the same time.
Oh, okay, so I'm covered then.
Yeah, but the thing, I think that what I'm feeling that there is a difference in terms of, I will say I'm God's favourite child.
Okay.
And people's response to that is, no, I'm God's favourite child. But what I'm saying is, we are all God's favourite children, but I'm claiming my position and my status.
Okay. Wow. I don't know what to say, because you're God's favourite child.
Indeed. And
what was your life before? Do you remember what your life was before, up until first stroke and then second stroke? And can you, because you are fine, you seem fine to me. If you're sitting there and someone came in just now, there's no sign that anything has ever happened to you.
But you know what's,
ever.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that my doctors say to me, oh my gosh, Carole, you're looking so well. And I have to laugh, because I'm thinking, you're looking at the paperwork in front of you and you know what's behind that.
Yeah.
But quite literally, this is how it is that I look. I jokingly say that this is the Holy Ghost glow. Because actually, if it was relying on me, I probably wouldn't look like this at all. But the bottom line is, this is who it is that I am on the inside that's radiating on the outside. Because quite literally, I don't wear makeup. I don't put on a mask that says, oh, right, okay, I'm going to be with people, I'm going to be out, I need to act as though everything's all right. This is quite literally me. This is no airs or graces, this is just me.
So you're blessed, basically.
Yes. But I think that what it is that I'm kind of learning, and almost like one of the messages that I want to share, is that we are all blessed, but we aren't choosing to claim it. So it's a bit like the parcel is on the shelf ready to be delivered, but we're not home. We're not home to receive it. And I've had, you know, I obviously wouldn't recommend these circumstances, but I've had an opportunity to press the pause button on all the busyness of life and all the doing and all the trying to do this and do that and get this and get that, to actually know who I am. And I guess the funny thing of it all was that when I first saw myself in the mirror, I had no idea who she was. I saw the features, and I thought that she looked familiar, but I didn't know who she was.
At which point was this?
This was in the hospital.
Okay.
And this was actually my second hospital.
Okay.
When I saw my reflection in the mirror, I knew it was me, because I was the only black person in the room. And I still wonder if the nurse had been white. No, the nurse was white. If the nurse had been black, whether or not I would have come to the same conclusion.
You would have thought it was her, the nurse.
Possibly. I don't know. And then whenever it was I went to the bathroom, I saw that reflection all of the time. Yeah. So I then figured that must be me, and that she was with me all the time. That actually I wouldn't be able to go anywhere without her, because she kept showing up. And for a while, I really did actually talk about myself in the third person. And it was just kind of really interesting trying to get to grips with, who is this person? And what is it that she's about? And I arrived eventually at a conclusion that she was actually quite awesome, and that I got to hang out with her. And then it did take me a little bit to realise that the she in the mirror was actually me, and it wasn't somebody else.
Wow.
And I think that the opportunity to be able to do that and actually get to know that person and think that that person's actually okay, I really want that gift for everybody else. Because what I have discovered is the moment it is that you know who you are and you own it and you step up and out from that place, everything changes. Because I know that if you meet me anywhere, you might not remember my name, you might not remember what it is that I do, but you will never forget me. Because I show up in its entirety. Because I'm not trying to get you to like me, that you don't have to agree that I'm awesome, because none of that matters, because I still am awesome.
You are.
You know, and so it's kind of a really interesting place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I have never been in this place before. When I can honestly say to you, I love me. Whereas I wouldn't have been able to say that with such conviction, if at all, previously.
So, but do you remember yourself previously?
Only bits and pieces. A bit like, for instance, the first day I went back to church, it was Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the senior pastors, I went with my friend, one of the senior pastors said, you know, the kind of, the previous Carole actually would enjoy the fact that people would be coming up to her and speaking to her. We don't know whether this Carole likes that. And also, this is a really emotional time because I'm not a mother and my mother is dead. So Mother's Day, from the accounts I'm hearing, was a really emotional time for me because it reminded me of my lack. But on this Mother's Day, I had no idea what they were talking about because it was just Mother's Day. There was no emotional attachment to it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the facts were still the same. I'm not a mother and my mother is dead.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't emotionally attached to those facts.
Yeah, it doesn't make you feel weepy or anything.
Nothing at all. And it was that whole thing, when it is I say to people, I'm not emotional, that my pastor says, oh my gosh, the old Carole would have actually had a bit of a meltdown because we're celebrating mothers and we make a point of mothers stand up, you know, that whole thing, and that you're not in that, and that you would have felt really emotional about it. And I didn't.
How long ago did your mother pass away?
24 years.
Wow.
And in fact, the real reason I know that my mother is dead, or I'm certain of it, is that she didn't visit me in hospital.
Okay. Yeah.
But that whole emotional, and I'm realising just how much of our lives are about the emotions that we attach to things.
Yeah, you see, but we do. I'll give you an example. Today, it was my auntie, we have a family WhatsApp page. And one of my aunties put our family church, the church.
Yeah.
I know it's an old church now. Mm-hmm. We've got a new massive one that the whole town goes to. This is in Ghana. And she put the old church on and said, this is the church, blah, blah, blah. And I remembered it when I was a little girl. And the whole family would dress up on a Sunday morning because we would go, maybe it's Easter or Christmas or something, and we would all go to our town. And then we would all dress up in the morning, and the whole family would walk and be greeting people and meeting other people. And we'd all walk to the church. And, my daddy's sisters took center stage. So they sit in the front. And so all of us kids will also be in the front and all of that. And then after church, everyone else, the family, would go home and they'll have the lovely Sunday lunch.
Yeah. And
I would grab my cousin and we would run down to my grandma's house because this is my mother. The whole center stage people are my daddy's family, you see. So we would just dash down to my grandma's house, where there are people, there's fufu being pounded, there's soup being made, and the fun was there because, my people are a little bit more Anglo and very well behaved and that. Nah, I don't like that. I'm not so I said, my earliest memory of blah, 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 blah. And my cousins all said, yeah, we remember that. Everyone had it was nostalgic for me, and it actually made me weepy. I was on the bus, and it was so intense for a moment. That feeling comes over you, and I think it's a good feeling.
Yes, it is. The challenge comes when it is that it's not a good feeling, and we live in that place.
Yeah.
Because that's where it is that we live out of our emotions. Mm-hmm. And whether it's that's good or bad, that we live from that place.
Yes.
Which isn't where it is that we currently are.
So you're saying, really, if we took if we left some emotions, especially the painful ones, we would move further and we would be more enlightened.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think it's that whole thing where we're not open to new experiences and new things.
Yeah.
Which kind of interestingly, in December, I remember I had a vision.
Oh, wow.
And it was a vision of a flowing stream, and the stream was beautiful, and the water was flowing nicely. And then I saw it again, and there was a boulder in the middle of the stream, and the water was now flowing around it. And what I understood in that space was that we were the boulders, and because we were closed and not open, the water couldn't flow through us. And at that time, it felt like it was the Holy Spirit wasn't able to flow through us because we were closed and we were rigid. And that's often in terms of those emotions of the past, and we're living there.
Oh, so the past makes the boulder stagnant, sitting in the middle of a beautiful flowing.
Yes, because we're not saying, like you've just said, actually that was nostalgic, and then we've got fond memories, and that's kind of great, and it was a moment in time where you went back to that place.
Yeah.
But then you just kind of then got on with everything else.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
But there are times where it's what we do with that emotion is we stay there, and we're trying to move forward, but we're trying to move forward from that place. And we're actually not physically there. It's a bit like if I ask you to get me directions to Birmingham, and you know that, yes, I'm on 2 crutches, so I have some challenges, and so you go into my fine detail about the directions, and they're amazing. They'll get me there, you know, in record time, but you chart that course from here, but I'm leaving from my house.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter how great your directions are, I'm never going to be able to follow them to get to my destination. It's not going to work.
Because you have to leave from your house.
Yes,
yeah.
And it feels like so many of us are trying to chart a course to somewhere from a place we're not. And rather than acknowledge where we are and chart the course from there, we're trying to chart the course from where we used to be, where we think we should be. You know, I didn't think I'd be here at this age. I thought I'd be somewhere else. And we're charting the course from the place where it is that we'd like to be. But where it is that we are is somewhere completely different.
But, so, where, you know, what should we be doing regarding this particular issue? If you are at a certain age and you think I should be driving a Rolls Royce and I should be living in a mansion, but I'm actually living in a small flat and I have a mini.
Well, I think it's kind of 2 things. One is you need to change your language. Because actually, if it's a Rolls Royce and a mansion that you want, your job then, or task, is to how do I get there from where I am?
Okay.
Because actually, you're never going to be able to get there from anywhere else other than where it is you are right now.
Okay.
And so it's that whole thing that, yes, that's what it is that I would like, but actually now project it in the future rather than thinking that's where it was I wanted to be now.
Yeah.
Project it into the future and then look at, okay, what do I need to do now
to get the
Rolls Royce?
There's something you said. I was watching one of your videos and you said something which resonated with me. I think it was the car. When you started the driving and you thought, yes, now I can drive, but I don't know where I'm going to go, or, you know, and then the next time, there you were driving off and going somewhere. And then the next time, you had gone to the Glades and you were looking for parking. Or no, you had gone today. You went to Lewisham.
Yeah.
You said, thank you, God, for giving me parking space.
Yeah.
And then you get there and there was no parking space. And then as you sat in your car, like in a moment, somebody got into their car. You asked them, are you going? They said yes. And you parked. So the issue of patience.
Yes.
The issue of being determined in your mind without any, you know, without too much, not stress or worry, but the knowledge that I'm going to get there.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is that we think that things should show up in a particular way.
Yeah.
So actually, it should have red wrapping paper on and a blue bow.
Okay.
And when it doesn't show up in that way, we don't see it.
Okay.
Because obviously it's not it, because it doesn't look how I expected it to look.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole idea of the parking space, I was going to get there and there would be a parking
It's
space
in front,
ready, and I would just drive into it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Mm.
And so I could get upset, annoyed, angry, whatever it is that those realms of emotions are, because it didn't show up how I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
But God said that there's a parking space.
You will get a parking
Yes.
space. And you got the parking
and I got the parking space. And I think that that's it for all of us. Actually, how badly do you want something? Because I think sometimes when those questions are being asked of us, or we're asking ourselves the questions, they're not negative questions, they are just questions. And that questions that actually, somewhere along the line, our mind is saying, we want the answer to this. And so rather than saying, I shouldn't be asking that question, that shouldn't be it, oh, that's kind of really wrong, or what have you, actually, why is your mind asking that question? What do you need to know in order to help you to be able to move forward? Because when I was sitting in the car last week and saying, what's the point? And like people have said, you know, that obviously that sounds like a really negative something. Actually, no, that was just a question. And whatever emotion you brought to it determined whether it was a negative thing or not. Because essentially it was just a question. What is the point? Okay, I don't know what it is, so therefore I need to find out.
Actually, I watched that, and I did actually make a comment underneath it that day. And I was watching you. You said, you know, I haven't got family, I have nobody, and if I didn't wake up tomorrow or something like that, nobody would care. And I thought, oh God, I would care. You know, as you were speaking, I was, you know, and I was thinking, oh my God, what's happening? So then you said a lot of things. You did ask the questions. Anyway, I think I was at work, so I had to get off and I had a meeting. But the next day, I came on and there you were jubilating over something, and I thought, oh God, that's my girl. She, you know, it was so beautiful, only because we all go through despair at certain times. But as it was with my nostalgia that I had, that, you know, on the bus, I think that's how we should treat things as they come along, you know. I mean, that thing, the other thing I remembered was the next day, when I saw you in your car saying something else, I did think about it, you know, the saying, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. You know, because the fact that I cried at my party doesn't mean I'm miserable today.
Yes. But that's interesting, a very interesting point, because that's not how society sees it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of really interesting, because I've had people say to me that you must think positively. And that made me laugh, because I thought, obviously you've spent no time with me whatsoever, because that would be the very last thing that you would say I needed to do.
You know, one thing I'll say to you, because, you know, especially as I've also been through some bizarre challenges, when people say things, they don't know the whole story. And, you know, as I've grown up, I have understood when someone says, you don't know the half of it. You see, you know what you've gone through. Yeah. You know what you have braved. You know what you've positively projected to get to the point that you are. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I have realized also that there are people who coast through life without any downs. They just coast.
I'm not sure that that's possible.
Oh, there are. Because, you see, when they start to tell you their issue, you realize they are coasting. That issue is nothing to think about. Yeah, but you definitely are coasting. Yeah, but this is why I'm saying that had they had half of what you've been through, that concern would not even be audible.
But what's one of the things that's interesting, because A lot of the things, because the world for me is strange and unfamiliar.
Okay.
There's lots of the English language, things it is that we say, words it is that we use that I think that actually mean nothing. And if we sat there and thought about it, actually that doesn't mean anything.
Like what?
When it is that people, the classic one is, everybody asks you how you are. So many times that people ask that, it's a convention. They're not interested in what's going on for you. They're not listening to what it is that you're going to say next. They're saying it because that's the norm. That's how it is that we do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been kind of really interesting. And it's made me really think about, I'm actually, I was possibly somebody that used to say to somebody that actually you need to look at the positive side of that or what have you. And I realised that actually I can do that, but that's a gift that I've got. And not everybody is able to do that. And so it isn't about telling them that that's got to do unless you can show them how or help them to find some tools to enable them to be able to do that. Because that whole idea that you're in the depth of despair and all you need to do is look at it positively or think of the great things in your life actually isn't as easy to do.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, but it's actually not, from a practical sense, isn't that easy to do.
It's like when your father dies, your beloved father dies, and someone says, it will be okay.
Yes, because
I want to punch them in the gob.
Because that doesn't even make sense.
It is not okay.
But yeah.
We will muddle through it, but it is never okay.
But that's it. Actually, that just reminds me. I was at King's College Hospital, casualty, and the ambulance came to pick me up to take me to another hospital.
Okay.
And the ambulance person said to me, "Are you okay?" And I looked at her, and I thought for a moment, and then I said, "How can I possibly be okay? I'm in casualty, you're taking me to another hospital, and besides, your whole job is dependent on people not being okay."
You can't say all of that, it's too much.
But I did.
But you did?
I did say that.
And what happened?
And then, well, they didn't say anything. But then people tried to tell me, well, what she meant was, but I've discovered now I'm slightly on the autistic spectrum, so therefore I think in black and white. So therefore, I can only answer the question you've asked me, not the question that you've implied or that you meant to ask, or that's what it is that question actually meant. I can only answer what you asked me. And she asked me if I was okay, and that seemed like a non-question because she already knew the answer.
A non-question. You see, this is why you're saying that some things, words that people say they're just saying them, rote method.
Yeah, and then also I just don't understand, and I've got some,
You don't understand what they say.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Because how can you ask me if I'm okay when clearly I'm sitting in casualty? You haven't come to take me home, so it's not like you ask me if I'm okay and I'm excited because I'm leaving. You're taking me to another hospital, and you're an ambulance. That doesn't even make sense.
So when they say, "Are you okay?"
They're
it's just disturbing your mind.
But also it's kind of really interesting as well, just in terms of, like I say, in the way that I think, because there was a scene in a hospital where when I used to go to the bathroom in the morning or on the evening, I would take my toothbrush and toothpaste. This one morning I've gotten out of bed and I've gone to the bathroom with the nurse. She's taken my toothbrush and she's put it on the sink. I go to the toilet and she says, "Do you want to brush your teeth?" So my response is there something else that I could be doing with the toothbrush or toothpaste? And so she doesn't answer me. So I ask her again. She now gets angry and tells me that she's not having an argument today. And I'm totally confused because we've come to... Because in my head, I'm thinking, there must be something else. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask me that question. I've just got out of bed. We're in the bathroom. What else would I be doing? But she didn't understand the fact that I was just questioning her.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be funny. I wasn't any of those things. I was just asking her a question. And when we left the bathroom, I felt like I'd been robbed because she knew something that I didn't know. There was something else you could do with a toothbrush and toothpaste, and she just hadn't told me.
There isn't. You just brushed your teeth.
But it felt like that, because, like, why would you ask me that question?
Yeah.
And particularly, you're on a stroke ward, so you already know that the brain has been affected.
Yeah.
Because a stroke is a brain injury,
Yeah.
and one of the manifestations is physical, but it is a brain injury.
Yeah.
So you're on a ward with people that have got a brain injury, and that your attitude is like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been a whole interesting journey, because people have said things to me like, we all have challenges. And I think, hold on a minute, I didn't say that we didn't, but for you to tell me, who's just come out of hospital, that's got a brain injury where every day is a challenge, that we all have challenges, I'm sorry, there's something wrong with that. Because I'm not saying that my challenges are greater than yours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that my challenges are actually different.
Yeah.
Because I've got the everyday challenges like everybody has, but I've got brain injury as well. But it's just a really interesting kind of space about how it is that people see things. That you say something, like you say, oh, I've got bad memory, I don't remember faces, and they say, oh, that happens to me all the time. Oh, it's old age, Carole. And you think, hold on a minute, I've had brain injury? So actually old age doesn't factor into this equation. And it's not that what they're saying isn't necessarily true,
Mm-hmm.
it's that it's almost like the one-upmanship. So
Oh,
I said
yeah.
X, and so you have to say Y, rather than listen to me, or even when it is you say those things, you don't personalise it to yourself.
Yeah.
You say everybody. So everybody's got challenges. But actually, you and I are having a conversation.
Yeah. So where do everybody
Come into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I get it.
So it's really interesting, because it feels like I've come in as an outsider,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually looking at the world through a new pair of glasses.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that, you know, I was participating in previously, but actually makes no sense to me now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you, by accident, are learning. You know, something happened the other day as well with you when you were walking in the park and you saw a couple, a black man and a white woman couple, and
Yeah.
you smiled at them, and the woman burst into laughter.
Yeah. And I guess it wasn't an issue as such, but if she hadn't been looking at me at the time of the laughter, because
Yeah.
you want to say, okay, what was the joke? Because I missed it and I wasn't able to join in.
Yes, but
Um,
you see, almost everyone on your page said, yeah, that's human nature. People do this kind of thing. Didn't they?
Yeah.
Did you then understand that human beings are strange?
Well, no, I didn't need that to know that. My everyday walk has taught me that actually there's none such things as strange as folk. Yes, we are strange.
We are.
You know.
Our conditionings and
Yeah.
our cultures and our traditions and our understandings and our, it's bizarre.
But I think I wanted people to understand me,
Yeah.
or at least listen.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole feeling that actually people aren't actually listening to what it is that I'm saying.
Okay.
And I think that for a while I actually wanted people to listen and to understand. Whereas now I don't care
If they listen.
or they understand. Because actually I'm here on purpose, because I could be dead now. And the fact that God has spared me means that there is something for me to do. And that something isn't about getting you to understand me. It's about kind of sharing kind of my brand of crazy, but it's about sharing my message with people with the hope that they find their space for themselves.
So what is the message? That's where we're at. Before we get to the message, though, I wanted to talk about all the things that you do, the work, the personal, the branding, the branding that you do. Can you tell me that in like 5 minutes or so?
Essentially. So essentially, I work with personal brands, and I think that we're in the people business, whether or not you are a company or whether or not you're an individual that's kind of like working for somebody else. Because people buy from people. And so the more it is that you can understand who it is that you are and what it is that you bring to the table, the more effective you can be in whatever it is that you're here to do. So my kind of mission, my kind of job is help you to kind of connect who you are on the inside and so you shine brightly on the outside. I see it very much like the diamond that's been encased in coal. Because inside all of us, there is a diamond that's waiting to shine. But
inside each individual.
Inside each individual. But it's the pressures of life, the mistakes, the challenges, whatever it is that become the layers of coal around the diamond. And we all know that we don't appreciate the value of a diamond till we can see it and it's polished. And so in the same sense, that until we connect with who we are on the inside and actually peel back those layers, we will never value who it is that we are and what it is that we bring to the table. And so my mission is to kind of help people to recognise. So it's about reflecting. It's about refreshing, recharging, so that they can position themselves for success. Because I literally believe that possibilities and opportunities exist everywhere. And it's only when it is that you open your eyes that you are able to see them. So the moment it is that you understand who it is that you are and the value that you bring to the table, everything shifts. Because things like, I know, like one of the great examples for me is, I was in the hospital. There was a reading group. And in that reading group, there was myself, a patient, a nurse, and 2 external people. And we sat down and we've gone round the table and we've read a story. And at the end of that, we have a free-flow conversation. And the 3 people look at me and say, you need to be a motivational speaker. Now, I am sitting in a wheelchair, in pyjamas, and I don't even know if I had a wash yet. And so I was sitting there. So there was nothing that I did to make me seem more appealing or kind of stuff. All that happened in that moment was I showed up. And as a consequence, one of the women is the president of a Rotary Club, and I'm speaking there on Monday.
Wow.
And that's a result of me showing up. And so I've believed this all the time. But this second stroke has helped me to really live that in a very real sense. And so my mission is to help as many people connect who they are and show up on purpose, because your standout advantage is you. Because only you have got the combination of experience, expertise, failures and mistakes. Only you have those. And so therefore already you're different from other people. And in a sea of sameness, you're looking for your standout advantage. You're looking for your uniqueness, and you have that in the palm of your hand. You are the most valuable asset you will ever have. There is nothing out there that's going to make this asset more valuable. It will enrich it and enhance it, but actually the value already exists. If we think of the diamond, when they take it out of the coal, they clean it and they polish it. They don't change it. They clean it and they polish it, and it starts to shine. And that's what it is, I think, that this is all about. And that's the role that I feel that I'm here to do, to work with people individually and collectively to help them see the value of who they are and how it is that they can leverage that to serve more people. Because we're all here to be a blessing. We're blessed to be a blessing. And that's whether you're a Christian or not, we're here to serve people. And the reality is that if we focused on serving people, I think it was either Zig Ziglar or one of those that said that in order to get everything it is that we want, we need to help as many other people get what it is that they want.
Say it again. If we need to get what we want,
we need to help
other people
get what they want.
Yeah.
Because in real terms, whether it be kind of business or whether you're working for somebody, that money is a byproduct of you helping somebody with a solution.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you focus on being solution orientated, we're solution providers, about providing as many people as possible with the solution that they need to move them forward, to take the next step, then actually we will be rewarded with financially with that. And so our focus should be less on the financial side and more on the service side, because the finances are a byproduct of that. And so that's it. So that's me in terms of personal branding. And personal branding, I see it as the story you tell the moment you show up before you have uttered a single word. And that story begins with the story you tell yourself.
So you motivate yourself.
Yes.
You decide that I am going to do this.
Yes.
You then get up, dress up, and show up.
That's it in a nutshell.
And
because
when you get there, just getting there, you have begun.
Yes. Because the thing is that you can't be something other than who you think you are.
No.
So you can say, like, so many people want to be a millionaire, but they have their heart isn't a millionaire heart.
What is it?
Because they still got a poverty mindset.
Okay.
So they're looking to get something, but they don't have the mindset in order to get it, because everything begins with in the mind.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible tells us, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay. And that's, biblical principles are the truth, whether you believe in them or not.
Yeah.
And so who we say we are, because it's, and particularly for me and the kind of for Christians, is that we talk about the Bible having power and there's power in the word and this book is full of power. This room is wired with electricity. Unless we plug in a plug or turn on the light switch, it doesn't matter how much power is in this room. And that so often we've got the word of God, which is power, but we haven't accessed it. Because so God, what God says about us has not changed for the last however long the Bible has been written for, 2,000 years since Jesus. What it is that God says about us has not changed. So it can't be, the issue then can't be God. It has to be us. Because what God says is the truth. But if we don't own it, it doesn't matter that that's the truth, because we're not owning it. The moment it is that we say, and it's the difference between head knowledge and heart knowledge. So the moment is that we say that the Bible says that I'm an overcomer. Oh, right, okay, I'm an overcomer. So when things come, I can overcome it. But I have to believe that. Because God alone, God knows that, because he knows the end from the beginning. So he already knows that. But if I don't know it, I can't act it out. Because we act out what it is that we believe.
Yeah. You know what? I'm watching you. I'm listening to you. I'm absorbing what you're saying. And did I say I was in awe? Now I don't even know what I... one of the reasons why I was quite happy for you to come on the show, and I wanted desperately for you to come and chat and share your whole journey and your brand storytelling and your faith and all of that. It's because there are people, swathes of people who may have had one stroke or two strokes or whatever, and they've given up. They're beaten. They will not, and I'm watching you, the way that you're speaking with such, I don't know how to describe it, but the way that you're speaking, and I'm thinking, is there anybody out there who needs this, who needs your spirit? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you must have a very powerful spirit to keep you, to get you to this point.
It's funny you should say that, because there was somebody, I went to a stroke group, and there was somebody that made a comment and saying, they were wondering what they were like. And I remember meeting that person years ago, and so we had a phone conversation, and she said just by the conversation with me that has encouraged her in ways that she didn't even know was possible. Because it's just about how it is that we see things. I went to see Sherlock Holmes last week, and one of the things that he said that I now understand more about myself was he said the reason he was so good was because he saw things differently. He saw things that other people didn't see. And what I left there feeling was that I joined the dots differently. So I'm not going to claim that I see things that other people don't see. But what I will say is that I put them together in a different way, creating different pictures. I can quite literally find the silver lining in any cloud. You give me a cloud and I will find you some good in that will help you to move forward. That is, like, there's the times where that annoys me because I think, like, seriously, Carole, do you not know how terrible that is? And the other part of me says, yes, but have you not seen X? And yeah, I can, you know, I used to go to a regular hospital appointment, and I was known, there was a group of us that would go at the same time, and one woman, she always used to say, one of the things that she said to me one day was, Carole, you're the light in the darkness, and she doesn't believe in God. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the light in the darkness, because every time she would have a dire situation, I would have a response to that that would make her laugh and give her another perspective. And I remember as a child, well, there's two things. One was I wanted to be a civil rights leader.
Did you?
Yes, because I thought that people needed to be free to be themselves. And then I realised that civil rights leaders, the good ones, were either dead or in prison. So it seemed like a 13-year-old, that should not be that they're aspiring to. But I realise now that that whole sense of freedom has never left me, and I want people to be free. Okay. And then the other thing was that I always felt that my role was to help you widen your perspective. So it felt like you were looking through a window and you were just looking at a small section of it, but there was a huge window for you to look out of. And my job was to help you to widen that perspective so that you see more of what's out there. So now you make more informed choices. Because I'm not trying to get you to do anything. The choice to do something is yours. Yeah. My job is to show you that there is another way.
So, do you speak to yourself? Do you actually say, Carole, get up?
No. And I don't speak to myself because I don't need to. Because quite literally, I am wired for... I'm wired for adventure and I'm wired for moving forward. You know, having said that, I didn't speak to myself. I went to Leeds because prior to the stroke, I had booked to go to a Christian conference in Leeds. And one of the things that happened whilst I was in hospital was that God reminded me of some things. And between Christmas and New Year, I'd gone on a retreat with a friend's church. And the pastor, who had never met me before, said two things, actually. He said, you're going to be a motivational speaker. That keeps coming up. And the second one was, God is relaunching you in 2019, which meant nothing to me until I was lying in a hospital bed in Lewisham, and it felt like God reminded me of what happened and said that this is the relaunch. Wow. So on the 1st of June, I was supposed to be, on the end of May, I was supposed to be in Leeds for a 3-day conference. Now, I had to walk with the physio to the end of the road for me to be able to walk to the end of the road. So Leeds and that felt like they weren't even in the same orbit. And that was kind of really crazy. And so all of the stuff that needed to go in place in order for that to happen. And the conversation I did have with myself then was, if you're not going to go to Leeds, it needs to be because you don't want to, not because you've had a stroke.
Oh. Okay.
Because that's not, you know, because the bottom line is that's where we're operating from. And so that's not an option to say, oh, I've had a stroke, so I can't do it. And so there was lots of navigation, lots of God input in it. And I got to Leeds. And the 1st of March, I was in hospital. The 1st of April, I was in hospital. The 1st of May, I was out of hospital, but I spent 5 hours at a hospital appointment. 1st of June, I was in Leeds Arena praising God. Wow. And what was interesting, because I thought, okay, so the relaunch is on the 1st of June. But I felt at the time that maybe I was saying that. But all the things that came together for me to be there, I thought, oh no, God's saying this. And then the 1st of June was a Saturday, and the first night of the conference was the Thursday. Saturday was the last day. First night of the conference was Thursday. And the topic of the night was re-enter the room. And when it was that she said that, I thought, okay, God, yes, I hear you. 1st of June is a new beginning.
You re-entered the room.
I re-entered the room.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I am choosing, I realise that whilst it is that, yes, my brain is wired differently, and it is as a result of the impact on my brain. But I also realise that somewhere along the line, I am choosing this. Because nobody I've spoken to that's involved with the stroke world can cite me another example of somebody thinking like I'm thinking.
You know, as you were speaking, and as you're even remembering on the 1st of June, the 1st of May, 1st of April, and all of that, I'm thinking, if someone's had an injury to their brain, and their memory is, you know, and they've lost emotion, they've lost this and that, you really have a powerful memory.
Yeah.
I do not, sometimes I can't even remember.
No, there are things I forget. But essentially, first of all, I was saying that I could quite literally, I know we all say this, that I could have died, but the circumstances involved around this stroke, if God had not intervened, I would actually be dead. So my whole thinking was, I'm alive, and the reason I'm alive is because I've clearly got work to do. Because if I didn't, there was no reason to change anything.
Yeah.
I could be dead.
Yeah.
And the other thing that also that's really spurring me on is that when I came out of hospital and I came home, there was a board that had pictures and images on it. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting, but I had no connection to it whatsoever. And then God reminded me it was my vision board.
Oh, you have a vision board?
Right. But the story, then he reminded me of the story behind the vision board.
Okay.
Right. At the beginning of the year, someone from my church had wanted to do a vision board and had never done one before.
Okay.
And so I said to her, I can help you. And then I felt like God said to me, why do you think that this is just about her? You're going to do one too. And I said to God, no, I'm not, because I've got no vision or no dream, nothing for 2019, so I'm not going to do it. And I was gathering material to go to her house, and I wanted artboard as being the canvas, and I went to the shop to buy it, and they sold them in packs of 2. So I bought 2 and thought she could have a spare. So I've gone to her house, we've prayed about it, I've talked about how vision boards are used, the purpose, I've talked about people without vision perish, you know, all of these things, and we've prayed about it. And then I thought, okay, this is going to look really bad if she does it and I just watch her. Okay, then I'll do one, but because I've got no vision for 2019, I will just do one around me. I'll just pick out words that I think are interesting and I'll stick them on the board. So I've got no connection, no attachment to it. I happen to find a picture of a bald black woman, so I stick her in the middle of the page. And then I just stick words, which for me seemed like random words. And then I took it home and I finished it at home. Right. When I came out in March and God showed me this, I realised that God really knows the end from the beginning, because the vision board that I created, I clearly did not create that myself. The vision board clearly states what it is that I'm here to do and who it is that I am. That my vision in 2019 is I'm going to speak, teach and write. It's about transforming lives. It's about not apologising for who I am. There's even an element on it that says, I can't stop smiling. And anybody
that was
that's
on the board.
That's on the board. The other bit, in the top of the board, it says, girl of now, I live in the here and now. There was a day that I woke up in the hospital. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'll come back to that in a minute. I forgot to tell you, I saw Jesus.
Oh, I was waiting to remind you.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
I was in the hospital and I had some restless nights. And I remembered that the Bible tells us we should ask. So I asked Jesus to come and cuddle me so that I could sleep better. And I looked to my right and there was a man in my bed.
Inside the bed?
Inside my bed. And I knew it was Jesus. And so
did you actually feel him?
I didn't feel it. I felt his presence.
Okay.
So I saw him and felt his presence.
Okay.
And I went to sleep. I had a restful night because he was there with me.
Okay.
And then a few mornings I would wake up and I would look up and there was a face looking down at me, smiling. And there was one day where he said, "You are at peace and I am with you." And then there was another day when I thought I was awake, and now every time I say this I realise I wasn't. I woke up and I looked at the wall in front of me, and on it said, "I am living my best life." I looked to my right and Jesus was moving a chair. So I thought, oh, I'm living my best life and Jesus is with me. And I understood I'm living my best life was a choice, and it wasn't based on my situation or circumstances. It was me choosing
to live
it, because I couldn't do anything about the hand I was dealt, but I could choose how I played the game. Right. So that's happened. So I come back to the vision board, and on the vision board it says, "I am living my best life now."
Wow.
And I am clear that vision board, I actually didn't do it.
And on the vision board was a bald woman.
Yeah.
Did she have red lipstick on?
No, she didn't have any lipstick on, actually. She had lipstick, but she had the word faith above her head. It's the things about kind of sparkling and shining and being bold. I mean, just kind of stuff that is just so in keeping with this moment right now moving forward. And I realised that God did it. God knew that in March I wouldn't know who I was. And so therefore the reason I didn't have a vision at the beginning of 2019 was because I didn't need one.
You had a vision board.
Yeah.
I need to ask you this question that I'm sure all of my listeners are dying to know. What colour was Jesus?
Well, actually, he's olive-skinned. He was olive-skinned. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we had a visit. I'm a leader at my church, and we had a visiting speaker that came to our leadership meeting. And I can't remember what he was talking about, but he showed a picture of Jesus. And I looked at the picture of Jesus and I thought, oh my gosh, actually, he was the one that was in my bed.
Really?
He had shorter hair, and his his skin was more olive-skinned, but yeah, it was him. And I was like, okay. So there are lots of things that people can say. People can say to me, "I don't believe you," or "I don't believe." That's cool, because bottom line is I don't need them to believe, because I believe and I know. And what's really interesting is that practically every conversation that I have had since the 1st of March has had God in it. I delivered a training course. It was between 10 and 4, and for 6 hours I didn't mention God's name, but I was in the toilet saying to God, I haven't mentioned your name. And it really felt like he was laughing and saying, "Carole, it's okay. You can actually go through this day and not mention me. It's fine." All my conversations have him in it. And I realise I have a qualifying question that says, "Do you believe in God?" And the reason I ask that question is not to determine whether I talk about God. It determines how I frame the conversation we're going to have about God.
We're going to
have a conversation about God.
Gosh.
You know,
Carole.
Yeah, so much so actually, I've got to give you the joke, is that I'm speaking at a business event in September.
Okay.
And when I was talking to my friend who's running it, she said, "Carole, please don't take this the wrong way, but please don't talk about God." And that made me laugh. I thought that was hilarious, because in order for someone to say to you to not do something must mean that you've been doing a lot.
You do it a lot.
Yeah.
You've done it a lot.
Yes.
And Jesus.
Yeah, JC's my mate.
So, I don't know what to say. I'm
sorry, listeners. I'm sorry that she's speechless.
made me speechless, listeners, and I'm my friend calls me casapole.
Okay.
Which means talkative. The minute I open my mouth. I don't talk very much, but when I'm in full flow, it's terrible. Anyway, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, in view of all that has happened to you now, and in view of the fact that regardless, notwithstanding all of this, you're still moving. You're still in full flow. And as you're like a juggernaut now, because as you move, it's just growing bigger.
Yeah.
So what do you have any future plans, or do you just take each day as it comes, or do you kind of think, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I've got a message for people. So you get up in the morning and you try and find ways of getting this message out. Because I know you have a brand spa.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Right, so it's funny. It's called the Personal Branding Spa.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened, I realised now, it was a couple of years ago. I woke up one morning and there's a chorus that I was brought up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and there's a chorus that they had, which only takes a spark to get the fire going, and soon all those around will warm up to its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, you have to pass it on. I woke up one morning with that song on my heart. You know, like you wake up and there's a song in your heart, except I hadn't heard it for 27 years.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, God, there's got to be a reason why it is that I'm thinking about this.
But is it Seventh-day Adventist church that you go to?
No.
Okay.
So I hadn't heard it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh right, spark, that's obviously a thing. And I realised that everything it is that we have ever done or will ever do had a catalyst, an impetus, some kind of inspiration that got us started.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling that the spark. So that's kind of really great. And so obviously God's thinking, oh yeah, she's on my wavelength now, but we're not stopping there. So SPARK is actually an acronym for story, passion, authentic voice, resources, and know-how.
Know-how.
And everything it is that we do has got all of those elements in it. And depending on how it is connected or engaged we are, will depend on the level of success that we have based on those elements. And so God gave that to me. And I've had that and played around with it in one way, shape or form for the last couple of years. And then I was thinking, okay, so now, this relaunch, this rebirth, okay, how am I coming out? What is it I'm going to do? How's it going to work? And I was standing in the kitchen and God said, but I gave you the personal branding spa. And he'd given that to me last year. And I thought, oh, I'm supposed to do something with that. And spa is the core of the word spark. So it's about story, passion, and authentic voice. So the personal branding spa is a place where savvy brands go to reflect, refresh, and recharge. So they position themselves for increase, which is impact, influence, and income. And so I've got an online space, and from that place there is coaching and mentoring and kind of programs that I'm developing to actually help people to find the keys to their freedom. To be more them and be okay with that, and and understand the power that they hold in the palm of their hands. So that's kind of essentially the personal branding spa. So for me, because my kind of whole kind of way of being is about speaking, teaching and writing, I'm actually actively seeking platforms to speak. So actually, if there are people listening right now and actually you'd like an engaging, inspirational and witty speaker for your event or for your group, then actually I'm available for that. And that's both Christian and non-Christian.
So if it's non-Christian, what are you going to do? Because you always call God.
Yeah, but it's okay. I'll refer to him as my learned friend. Yes. So actually, the message is the same, whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian. It's the way in which it is that it's packaged will be different depending on where it is that you're coming from.
Somebody's just said, Carole, you rock.
Oh, thank you. So it's kind of really that whole thing about, and for all of us, about sprinkling your brand of awesome everywhere it is that you go. And so I am starting my book that's actually going to talk about this whole stroke journey, because it is kind of crazy, adventurous, and different. And so I'm actually doing that. I already run a marketing workshop with the Portobello Business Centre. I do a marketing clinic, and I'm just looking at doing some more of those. And one of the things I really want to do is do vision board one-to-ones, because now I know for sure
that the vision board
and the vision board about yourself. So it isn't just about what it is that you want you know, the material things that you want, or how it is you want the business to look. It's that whole thing about, in order for those things to happen, how do you need to show up? And so really focusing on you and the essence of you, so that you get it, you understand it, you value it, and you really take it with you everywhere as you go. So I'm looking at, though, doing both vision board workshops and one-to-one sessions, because I think that would be really valuable. Yeah. And I do Spark Intensive Days, so that whole thing about helping you to discover the story, develop your narrative, and that's both verbally and otherwise, and then package and deliver your brand of awesome to the world. So I just got small vision. Oh, and I'm, you know, if anybody wants to book me to speak internationally, because I'm an international speaker, and so yes, I'm ready to get on a plane.
You go.
I will go.
They will pay for you, of course, and then you go. Yeah. You have a story. I'm very impressed. You know what we were talking about? It's my party, and I'll cry if I want to. There's another thing you said which fascinated me and made me laugh so much. You said, "Life is too short, so let's eat dessert first."
Yes. Let's go for the sweet stuff. Sometimes we get so bogged down in, you know, the meal or what it looks like, and it needs to be here and kind of there. Actually, no, let's go for the sweet stuff. And you know in your heart what your sweet stuff is. The stuff that makes your heart sing and makes you smile. You know, and it may not be conventional. It may not be what it is that everybody thinks you should be doing. Or it may not be what it is that, you know, the person next to you is doing. Actually, that doesn't matter. What's your sweet spot? What's your stuff? Like, I realised that my thing really is about connecting with people so that they can see more of who they are. Like, a great classic was, I was in the park. There's a park near me that was doing a Caribbean celebration for Jamaican Independence Day. Right, so I've gone to the park, and there's a woman there with her 2 grandchildren. They must have been about 10 or 11. And she said that she was half Pakistani and half English. Okay, so she introduces herself, and then the 2 children introduce themselves. And one of the children's name was Sky, and the other one's name was Summer. Now, I guess most people would say, oh, those are pretty names or something. Not Carole. Carole says to Sky, okay, what I'm saying to you now is the only thing that's greater than yourself is above you. Don't let any situation or circumstance tell you otherwise, because you are valuable just the way you are. You are a beautiful young lady. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. So that was Sky. And then Summer, I said to her that you're all about the sunshine. When it is that you show up, the sun shows up too. Again, don't let anybody tell you any different. So I had this conversation with these 2 children that I don't know.
Never met. And
I'm thinking, they're probably thinking, this is a strange black woman on 2 crutches in the park. But they're leaving, and they say goodbye. And I say, Sky? And she said, yes, I know. The only thing that's greater than me is above me.
She said that?
And Summer. And Summer's laughing, and she's saying that when I show up, the sun shows up. And I thought, yeah, that's it. You know, and I think that sometimes, as Christians, that we are the only Bible that some people are ever going to read. And that when it is that we show up, we don't have to mention God's name. That actually we show up with the love of God, we show up with the Word of God, and that has an impact on people's lives.
The love of God.
Yes.
And the Word of God. You know, you are an inspiration. You are, because, you see, things happen to people, and it changes their whole dynamic. Do you know that? You know that, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
It changes their dynamic so much that it weakens their resolve. You know, illness. When I have a pain, sometimes I don't want to move. Yeah. And it happens to people. So if it's a big thing, like this big thing that happened to you twice, it would just break them down.
Yeah, and I've met lots of, you know, a lot of people, you know, a lot of fellow stroke survivors are angry, they are depressed, and it is really hard. And I'm not saying that this isn't a struggle. The struggle is real. I've just chosen to just approach it differently.
You have risen above it.
It doesn't mean that there isn't a struggle. So, every day is still a challenge. But I've got things to do. I'm very clear that the reason I am still breathing is because I've got something to do. And that I can't afford then to waste this gift that I've been given, particularly as I've been given the gift to impact the lives of other people. And so by me not showing up, it's not then just about me not showing up. It's actually, I'm not, it's a bit like people are hungry, I've got the food, and that they're going to starve or not necessarily starve, but not eat as well as they could if I don't show up with the food. And so
I get it.
Yeah, so I know that there's a kind of like for all of us, there is a U-shaped hole that's waiting for you to show up to do what it is that you are here to do. Because none of us are here by accident. If we are, regardless of whether you believe in God or not, none of us are here by accident. So there is a role for us to play. We're all, a link in a chain. And a chain becomes more effective and stronger when we show up and do our part. And so I know I've got something to do. And that my job then is to find the way to do it.
So what about people what would you say to people who maybe they've had this stroke? They don't feel that they have anything to do. As you said yourself, that they're angry, they're distressed because maybe they had things to do. See, the plan for you didn't have a vision for 2019. You had this thing happen to you and everything has fallen into place and you're forging on. But what about the people who had great grand plans of and then suddenly they're struck down by illness or stroke and then they don't know they're just beaten. What then can they do?
Well, I think one of the first things is that you need to really look at your support system, your support network, because I feel that in terms of whatever illness or condition it is that you have, that actually the doctors know the medical side. You know you. And you know you better than anybody else does. So you need to be part of the medical team. And so therefore, that there are things that the doctors can do, but there are then things it is that you can do. And that if you have, in addition to the medical team, a core of people around you that will listen to you, that will encourage you, and not if you're having a pity party, join in, that actually will be there to help you up and really start talking about how it is that you're feeling, get people that can actually encourage you in that space, but actually now start thinking about moving forward. And all that the stroke is, or the stuff that's happened, is that this is now your starting point. So it doesn't mean that plans that you had can't happen. It just now means that they need to have a different strategy in order to make them happen. So if you wanted to be a Premier League footballer and you were on the verge, but actually now you can't do that, it doesn't mean that football is out of your life. It now means that you will have to do that differently.
How different?
Well, it could be anything, because football, but football is football is a humongous industry. And it may be that you're not playing football in that way, although I'm sure that there must be wheelchair football. You're not playing it in that way, but you could get involved in football in a different capacity. So it's about not closing your mind to stuff, which can only happen with having the right encouragement and people around you to help you access the tools.
Yeah, to find a different
route. Yeah. Like I would never, like when I was younger, it kind of shows you my age now, but there was Inner London Education Authority, and I was the mixed doubles champion, the doubles champion. I played in the Kent coaching squad for tennis. I am unlikely to be playing tennis anytime soon.
Okay.
And there's sometimes where it is I see it in the park. I've played at Queen's Club. I've seen it in the park, and I thought, oh, and I could get stuck in that place of oh,
yeah. But then, you know, you've got other things.
Yeah, but that's it. So I'm not focused, I guess, like for me, and it's that whole thing about having the right people in your life so that you focus less on what it is you can't do. And I'm not saying that you will forget what it is you can't do, because of course you won't. You know, I'm on 2 crutches. I will not forget the fact that actually,
I play tennis.
You know, that I, in order for me to mobilise, I need 2 crutches, and I need to make provisions in order for me to be able to kind of do what it is that I need to do. So I won't forget what it is I can't do. But actually, in the stuff that we can't do, there is still so much more that we can do, and so much more that we haven't even tried. And so it kind of feels like the world is narrowing because actually I can't do that anymore. But that's because that's what we focus on is what we see. Yeah. And the more it is that we focus on that, the worse it becomes. And the reality is that worrying about it, fretting about it, doesn't change anything. And don't get me wrong, I've tried that. I've kind of, you know...
You fretted about things.
Well, actually, that was probably another lifetime. But that kind of whole thing of just kind of sitting down and waiting for things to happen. So you can sit down, I can sit down in my house right now and wait for somebody to take me out. Or wait for somebody to do something. And I could be waiting for a very long time because nobody's coming. And it isn't because people don't care.
I know, it's just...
but nobody's coming.
Yeah.
Or I think there was a point where I decided that if it is to be, it is up to me. And I don't mean that in a negative thing in terms of it's me alone, it's me.
Yeah,
I mean that nobody can want it more than I want it for me.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want it for you, then nobody's going to want it for you.
No.
There's nobody that's going to do that. So for me, if I want to do something, my job then is to find out how.
Yes.
And even if I may not have the answers, oftentimes I don't. But it's about
process. Yes.
Because, you know, so ironically, we are now in August. Right. I have travelled more in the UK since April than I probably had for the whole of last year. I've been to Sheffield, Leeds, East Midlands, Birchington-on-Sea, and Salisbury.
All to do this.
All to do different things. All to do different specifics. All to do different things. And if you'd asked me whether or not I could do that, I would have told you no, because I don't even know where those places are, and that requires a lots of travel and navigating and stuff. But I have been there and come back.
Do you know the funniest of all of the things that I've known you in this short time that I've known you was the day that you went with your friend in an ambulance. It wasn't anything to do with your illness, but your friend was in an ambulance and you were just going for the ride. Oh, I laughed while I thought, oh, this woman.
Yeah, it was just the whole thing that it's excitement.
Yeah.
You know, there's the little things that get me excited. Like when I came out of hospital, my biggest excitement and achievement was I was able to pull up my own panties. So I got excited about that. The fact that there is an ambulance and they didn't call you. It's not for you. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh wow! So this is what an inside an ambulance looks like when you're not sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did the light flash? No, was it a flashing blue?
That didn't have a flashing blue light. No, that was I had my own flashing blue light. Because if I'm going to do those things, I'm doing it on my own.
We've got 2 minutes to go.
Okay.
So, what is your last? I don't know. Do you have any last words to give to anyone out there who is got? I've got 2 friends actually. 2 of my classmates. My friends, one had bleeding in the brain and, you know, blah, blah. It's all men, though. And then the other one, he had a stroke. But the thing is, he is very he also quite determined and very, you know, last week he went for a walk with the other classmates went around for a walk with him and all of that. And it's quite impressive because now he, you know, he emails. We have this year group thing and we chat and he wants to tell us about his feeling and his progress and everything, and everybody's so happy for him. You know, the other one is different. He's more of it's happened, it's past, he's well, he's fine kind of thing.
That's kind of interesting, but it's not. I was going to say the bottom line is a stroke your life is changed forever. Because it has been a brain injury, it's been a brain interrupt, and that your life is different now. You see things differently, even if it is just the fact that you're aware now of, your vulnerabilities, and that it's about encouraging him to celebrate, because that's the kind of whole thing that if we think about life as being this 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and every piece goes together to make up the big picture. So every piece it is that you find is worth celebrating, because actually that's key and that's kind of important. Whether that is that you woke up this morning and got out of bed, it's about recognising the value of the journey it is that you're travelling, and about enjoying it, because otherwise, really, what is the point? If you can't smile and enjoy the journey it is that you're on, whatever that journey is, then actually there's something wrong. Because apart from the fact that I do think I'm a little bit crazy because I smile all the time, and I know that that's a little bit abnormal because not everybody does that, but actually to find the joy in life, it's back to that whole thing. Life's short, eat dessert first.
Eat dessert. I like that, because I sometimes eat dessert first.
That's good.
I do. I mean, you get to a point in life where you think, you don't know tomorrow.
Yeah.
And are you actually enjoying this?
Yeah.
Are you enjoying this life? So once in a while, you do nice things. I do a lot of nice things. I mean, I'm not excessive, but I do know what my nice things are. And I do them.
But I think that's kind of good. And nice things doesn't have to cost lots of money. But it's about that whole thing about asking yourself the question, did I enjoy today?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't. Right, so if I get a chance to do this again, how am I going to do it differently?
Yeah. And I think it's correct. It's correct and true to the point where people need to do nice things, and it doesn't have to be expensive, but as time goes on, you have to learn to know yourself. And that thing about, that thing about man in the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, this girl is going to go with me everywhere I'm going, so I might as well connect with her. That sort of thing.
It was actually interesting, because one morning I woke up and I thought, I need a ride or die chick. But what was interesting about that was I didn't even know what that meant. I had to ask Google.
What is ride or die?
It really is the kind of like that, the person that sticks with you through thick and thin, and is with you all of the time. And I remember after I looked it up, thinking, oh my gosh, that woman in the mirror, she's my ride or die chick, because she's there all the time.
All the time.
I mean, and I think that essentially when they talk about it, it's usually another person.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was me. So, oh, right, okay. So therefore, you need to show up in a particular way, so that therefore everything's always all right.
We have to go. We've talked. Do you know we could be talking for England, and we could talk for a long time. But do you know how long we've been chatting?
No.
Can you guess?
No, but an hour.
We've been talking for an hour and a half.
Okay, so I can no longer say that. Actually, I can only shoot for a short period of time.
You could have gone on if I allowed you to.
No, that is because also there is so much more.
There is so much, and I love it, because when you start talking, you're in the zone. You're in the zone, and I wonder if you hadn't had the stroke, how would your brain? It's on fire. Jesus Christ. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and I'm very happy to speak to you. And you are welcome to come back and tell us more how you're getting on and all of that. I'm very grateful. Carole Pyke, you are a star. You are an inspiration. And I did a lot of extensive research about you, and I didn't even use any of it. You said it all. So people, if you want to book your spark, Carole has a website. Just type Carole Pyke, and it is Carole, and Pike is Pyke. it's on, you will find her, and you will, if you need to meet, to talk, if you want to do telephone, whatever it is that it's suitable for you, go on the website. She does 30 minutes or an hour. Is that it?
Yeah.
And I want you people to meet Carole, in whatever capacity it is that you want to meet her, to help you get your spark.
Indeed.
Back. Everyone has a spark. It's either you identify it, reclaim it, use it.
Actually, there's one thing I have to say before we go.
I think we're going to do the two. Please.
I met Nelson Mandela.
Oh, God, yes, you're the one who hugged him.
I hugged Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
Because I'm a hugger. I'm actually a hugologist. But hugged Nelson Mandela. And one of the things that's kind of interesting was that we often talk about people having presence. And he was the first man that I've met that actually you can feel his presence the moment he walked into a room. It wasn't about what it was he said. It wasn't about what it was he was wearing. It was how it was that he carried himself. And I'm now referring to that as sparkle. And we all have the potential to sparkle.
Did you meet Mrs. Mandela as well?
No.
I'm not talking about...
It was just him, no.
Oh, okay.
We all have the potential to sparkle.
Okay.
And so that's the kind of thing that I want to see people sparkle. So yeah, so that kind of whole, come find your spark.
People, we've got to go. We've gone over, but luckily there's nobody behind me, therefore we could do this. But thank you very much again.
Thank you
for coming. Thank you, Stedman, as well, for bringing Carole. You're a very good man. And people, as I said before, if you want to speak to Carole, go on her website. It's Carole with an E and Pike with a Y, Pyke. And find out about Carole, and then you could have a session, half an hour to an hour. Or you could just read about her and inspire your own self. We need to wake up, my people, and you know what I mean. So bye-bye. Be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'll play some music while I get out of this. And take it off now. Wow, Carole, you could have gone on, couldn't she?
You could. I'm allowed to speak now.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's like
It was here. Do you know why? You see, for a while, I didn't even know what to say to you. I mean, I've got all the, look, this is all my, I have questions and everything. And as you were talking, everything I said, I heard myself saying it. I hadn't planned it.
yeah. You know what's really funny? And it's funny to you. It's not funny to me because I know her well, and I'm not. For some reason, I'm not surprised by anything that happens to you. But on the way here, she said, "I don't even know what I'm going to say," and I said, "When has that ever been a problem?" Like, it's never planned. But that's who she is. It's like you would think that she'd have to sit down and write it. No. It just flows. And you forgot the.
Bye bye, my people. I suddenly forgot that you were there, but we've had this, and now we're kind of doing a post-mortem. We shall speak. I shall see you later. Bye bye. Be well.